So it's that time of year again, and oh my gosh, I'm just like a kid in the candy store. I've been starting a ton of seeds, and today it's time to start the carrots. But before I get too far ahead, I'm Patrina. This is Homegrown Florida. I've probably said this about a million times since September started. Fall is my favorite time of year for gardening. Summer has been so long and so hot. And while I did grow a lot of food, it was a lot of like tropicals and exotics. They're a little different. Still amazing to taste, but I really miss broccoli and carrots. Last year, I did not grow near enough of what we needed for a full year's supply of food. We basically ran out about a month after my last harvest, which was way back in April. This year, I'm definitely going to be growing a lot more. Carrots are pretty cool regarding storage because they do keep for a really long time in the fridge. You can also can them, freeze them, dehydrate them. Pretty much all the options of preservation are available to you. So let's get started. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future videos. The thing to know about planting carrots is that they do take a while to germinate. They have to stay really moist and they have to be surface sown directly. Not the most suitable situation for August in Florida, where the heat dries the ground up so quickly it's basically impossible to keep it moist. Before you say just add mulch, well, carrot seedlings are super fragile and tiny, so they would have a hard time pushing up through traditional mulches. So that is not really an option. You might also think that you can start them in trays and control the moisture with like a plastic dome. That probably won't work out well either because they do not transplant well. So how do you germinate them? The first thing that I do is I'm going to rake and break up the dirt that's in my beds. My beds are pretty fluffy, but they are a little bit compacted from the plants that were in here previously. And carrots hate compacted soil. It keeps them from growing straight and fat if the soil is not fluffy. So I'm going to use a tool that I have. It's kind of like a tiller to break up this dirt. Now you can also use a pitchfork or just a shovel. It really doesn't matter. I like to use this one because it creates space under the soil while I'm doing my best not to disrupt this whole ecosystem that's happening underground. Then I'll smooth out the dirt on top and water it super deeply. The more water, the better. Then I'm going to create my tiny little rows about 2 inches apart, and then I'm going to sprinkle the seeds into the row. You could drop the seeds one at a time, 2 inches apart, but that would take like an hour per square foot, and then I'd be sweating to death out here. Since you get like 1,000 seeds in a pack, I don't mind wasting a little bit. Once I've sprinkled them in, I'll sprinkle the smallest amount of soil on top just to hold them down. Think of it like sprinkling salt on your dinner. That's about as much as you need. Next, it's time to water again. Now, the most important part to planting carrots is you have to cover the seeds. Today I'm going to be using cardboard from an Amazon box. You can also use like pieces of wood. I've even used the bags that my black cow dirt comes in, held down with like little rocks. I thought they might cook under there, but they did fine. By placing something over the soil, it keeps the soil moist but doesn't obstruct the seedlings from sprouting. Check on them daily because once they sprout, this needs to be removed. Otherwise, they'll fail to get the sunlight they need, and then of course they'll die off. Once they do sprout, I do sprinkle them with a little bit of thin mulch. One of my favorite mulches to use on newly sprouted carrots is like these pine flakes or these pine mulch. It's really, really thin and it's really fluffy and it doesn't obstruct them, but it does start to provide that layer of mulch that's needed. Pine bark is my favorite for this purpose, but use whatever you have. Grass clippings is another really good one that works well. Just go light with it at first. You can always add more and more as they grow. After they've sprouted, wait for the first set of true leaves to come in, and then we will need to think about thinning the seedlings. If you leave them as is and they're closer than 2 inches apart, it will cause your carrots to stay super small and not grow long at all. Thinning seedlings is like a really hard and sad day for me. You're basically killing your baby plants, which kills me. But at the same time, I've learned my lessons in the past when I got these little tiny itty bitty carrots after like 4 months of growing. So it is a necessary evil. Just like you're going to mulch a little at a time, you're also going to want to thin a little at a time. Just in case the seedlings die, you don't want to take out too many of them very early on. I do about 3 rounds of thinning throughout their life. And that's all there is to it. Keep them watered regularly, lots of sun, and fertilize lightly. Normally, you don't usually need to add a lot of feeding if you have decent soil when it comes to carrots. What are you most excited about growing this season? Head down into the comments and leave me a note. Also, check out my video here on food for a year to know how many carrot plants you need to feed your family per person for an entire year.